If you're interested in an additional $60, flag down a test associate and let them know. You could walk out of here with a
Alright, and here we are back with more Portal 2. This is my second time trying to record the audio for this video because the last time that I tried to do it, well, first of all, it started out with, they're building a new apartment not far from mine, like 1 or 2 buildings away from me, and, they are loud, and they were hammering the last time that I was trying to do this, and so I had to wait a second, and then once they finally stopped hammering, I was just like a complete brain-dead person and had no idea what to say, and I think I said maybe like 2 coherent thoughts in the entire, like, 18 minutes that I ended up recording. I didn't even do the whole video. Just at some point I was like, this is fucking bad. Like, this isn't a good video at all. Not even by my standard of LP video, where I just, like, need to just speak to some degree constantly. So yeah, the next couple minutes of this is me trying to figure out this admittedly kind of simple room. And the actual problem here was that I remembered how to do it, but first of all, I kept fucking dying, and secondly, I kept forgetting, like, the order of how you're supposed to do everything, so, and I forgot that there was a second, little place where you shoot off up there. So anyway, I guess the one thing that I wanted to talk about that is going on is that, I am graduating this week. Probably by the time that I upload this video, I will have technically graduated. And yeah, I forgot, you're supposed to spit some blue shit up onto the bottom of that platform before you turn it over with the button, which I am now figuring out in my head in this recording. This recording is from, let's find out when I did this. Probably a while ago. This particular thing is from November 6th. The beginning of this video is. The second half of this video is from December 11th, where I recorded a little bit more just to fill it out, because it only got to about half the length that I wanted to by then. Yeah, I am graduating from college, and I just got done, at the time of recording this, just got done with my last things, the last things that I need to do, for college. It was an editing project, for the advanced editing class I'm taking. It was a title design project where I had to use After Effects, which I'm absolutely garbage at. So I don't really know if it turned out too great. I mean, to me, I was, like, impressed with myself for coming up with a plausible idea for a silly little, like, 20-second animation that was super basic that I could learn how to do being a total novice. But, I don't know, some people in the class that had way more After Effects experience had some, like, super intricate things that they spent, like, 16 or 18 hours on. And I just cannot be arsed at this point. I have other things going on. I had papers and exams and my own projects and my own personal family and friend obligations in this hectic last week of the semester. And it is kind of weird. I haven't really been, like, cognizant of it because I've just been focusing on all the day-to-day stuff, but it is weird to think about that I am, like, I don't ever have to go to school again now for the rest of my life, unless I want to. Like, unless I want to go to grad school, but that just means more student loan debt, so I don't think I'm gonna do that. Even though one of the things that I would like to do, I feel like it would be pretty fun to teach. Like, it would be fun to teach a college course. I would like to teach at my college, but you pretty much definitely need your master's degree, if not a doctorate, to really get to be a normal professor. Like, without having gone through all the, like, grad programs where you are alongside actual professors and all that jazz. So yeah, anyway, I talked over it, but basically, at this point, you've pretty much completed the actual puzzle elements of this little area, as in Cave Johnson is, like, done saying things to you about, like, oh, you figured out how to get... Because, yeah, you're going in and out of, like, decrepit, decaying test chambers that they used, like, at the... I'm assuming at the genesis of Aperture Science. And, yeah, also there's Carolyn, and Carolyn has something to do with Gladys. If you played this game or, like, have been a video game, like an adult that has paid attention even marginally to video games since 2011, you probably already know what the ultimate Carolyn-GLaDOS relationship is, and the relationship with Cave Johnson as well. But because this is a Let's Play and I am a nice boy, I'm going to not say it, because it's a big spoily-woily. This part is important, though.
Since making test participation mandatory for all employees, the quality of our test subjects has risen dramatically. Employee retention, however, has not. As a result, you may have heard we're going to phase out human testing. There's still a few things left to wrap up, though. The bean counters told me we literally could not afford to buy $7 worth of moon rocks, much less 70 million. Bought them anyway, ground them up, mixed them into a gel. And guess what? Ground up moon rocks are pure poison. I am deathly ill. Still, it turns out they're a great portal conductor. So now, we're going to see if jumping in and out of these new portals can somehow leach the lunar poison out of a man's bloodstream. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Let's all stay positive and do some science. That said, I would really appreciate it if you could test as fast as possible. Carolyn, please bring me more pain pills.
Okay, so I guess we're not completely done with the testing in this area of the game. But anyway, yeah, you go over here. It took me about 400 years to realize that there's a button in that office, which is why I did the little cut there. But yeah, I was saying over the course of like 25 minutes and in an incredibly meandering and pointless way in the original recording, my original attempt at recording this video, that at no point in my playing of this game a lot, which was in like 2011, 2012, I liked the story of the game, and I thought the reason that people thought it was really cool was because it was just neat and a funny game. And most of the praise outside of like game mechanics and stuff that I have seen for this game since it came out mostly has to do with the comedy, both the writing and the performance of it by the voice actors. And most of them see the story, most reviewers seem to have seen the story of this game as mostly just a vehicle for verbal comedy. And while I think that's all true, I had never really thought much about, like, what I think the story is trying to say, if anything, especially about... I feel like you could mine some significance out of its treatment of, like, quote-unquote doing things for the science, and, like, how that relates to sort of, like, tech bro culture of today, with, like, the Zuckerbergs of the world. And I'm not sure if that was on the mind of Gabe Newell or whoever were the actual scriptwriters for this game. But I feel like you could... And I mean, like, I am not in an intellectual position at the moment to try to, like, come up with a good case for what I think this game's story is trying to communicate about that. I just feel like you could, and I feel like if someone hasn't, then they should. If anyone happens to know of some good articles or reviews or videos of people delving into the meaning of the story of Portal 2, I'd be interested in looking at it, seeing if there is any intrigue into that subject among anyone else but just me. I also did not notice, and I won't say how for the two people, again, that don't know where this game is going, but I also didn't realize the first several times I played this game that the moon rocks thing that Cave Johnson just got done talking about actually is a little bit of a setup for something later on, and a pretty subtle one at that.
Lemons? What am I supposed to do with these?
Yeah, take the lemons.
Demand to see Life's manager.
Yeah.
Make Life rue the day it thought it could give Cave Johnson lemons. Do you know who I am? I'm the man who's gonna burn your house down with the lemons.
Oh, I like this
I'm
guy.
gonna get my engineers to invent a combustible lemon that burns your house
Burn
down.
his house down. Burning people. He said what we're all thinking.
The point is, if we can store music on a compact disc, why can't we store a man's intelligence and personality on one? So I have the engineers figuring that out now. Brain mapping, artificial intelligence. We should have been working on it 30 years ago. I will say this, and I'm gonna say it on tape so everybody hears it 100 times a day. If I die before you people can pour me into a computer, I want Carolyn to run this place. Now she'll argue. She'll say she can't. She's modest like that, but you make her. Hell, put her in my computer. I don't care. All right, test's over. You can head on back to your desk.
Goodbye, sir.
Alright, that is the last we're hearing of Cave Johnson, unless I'm forgetting another time. But yeah, so that is what happened with Aperture Science and Cave Johnson. And you know, I was thinking during his little monologue there that maybe I'm perfectly fine with the entire appeal of this story not necessarily being that it has anything prescient to say about tech culture or about science or whatever. Although I feel like, you know, Gabe Newell isn't an idiot. I feel like he would probably want to do something like that, and he has gone on record saying that he believes video games are an art form, and while obviously what counts as art is completely subjective, I feel like, you know, one of the big criteria for whether something is art is whether or not it has some sort of relevance to culture or society at the time that it is made. And I feel like Gabe Newell would want to take this opportunity if he's going to expand the story of this silly puzzle game, that he would want to do something like that. And specifically about like the tech industry and tech culture, which I feel like he, being a person who came from Microsoft and now has his own business in that realm, would be equipped to comment on. But again, I just don't know if that's exactly where anyone was trying to go with this game. But I'm fully okay with the entire appeal of the story just being the revelation of all this information and getting all the backstory, the lore, if you will, of Aperture Science. I feel like in a lot of my videos, especially in my movie review videos, I do a lot of shitting on the concept of lore, and about the concept of all of the, little background details of the worlds of movies and of video games and books and stuff like that. And I don't want to bash those things, because I don't think there's anything wrong with those things at all. And I don't think there's anything wrong with liking them, or, them being a major part of why something is your favorite thing. But, to me, those things rarely have anything to do with why the story of the thing works or why the characters are interesting to me, because those are more devices of storytelling and writing, I feel like. Talking about how that works and why that makes you feel a certain way is the thing that I find particularly interesting and vital about stories and art and movies and video games and whatever media you want to talk about. And so, it's just not my priority, and so I don't really understand the notion of someone who it is their priority when talking about a story. But it's not a bad thing. And I just don't think it's a good thing to, if a story works on its own, in its own contained story world, the characters and everything, their motivations and actions make sense and are consistent with the emotional and thematic things that the story has introduced and is about, or are about. But it does some sort of disservice to the lore, or deletes a part of the lore that you found particularly cool. I'm generally the kind of person that I'm perfectly willing to overlook that stuff, as long as the core story works. It doesn't really bother me if that's at the expense of the lore, or any particular piece of the lore, unless it's a vital thing that changes the nature of a character or of a thing. But if it's just background details, or if it's just details that you don't particularly find cool, or as cool as a different explanation, I just don't think that's the most valid of a criticism you could have of something. I wouldn't call that a bad story. I think it's just a difference in priority and a difference in what you value in a story. So, I'm thinking about all of this because The Last Jedi came back into my Twitter timeline the other day because it was the 1-year anniversary of it coming out. So, movie critic and, just movie opinion people that I follow were talking about, what they like about it and what they don't like about it, and fans were in the mentions of both of them. Star Wars fans were in the mentions being this is why you're wrong, this movie is terrible. Ryan Johnson had a tweet where he was thank you all the fans who liked Last Jedi and said so to me over the past year, it was cool, and all the feedback and stuff. And a bunch of Star Wars fans were you ruined the franchise, you killed Luke Skywalker, and it's I just think that's babyish, and there's a whole childish entitlement dimension to the Star Wars Last Jedi, the Star Wars fans' relationship with Last Jedi specifically, more so than other pop culture things, but that is a whole other fucking topic that other people have already talked about better than I have. I should just start sending out videos and articles that I already know make my point really well than trying to find ways to talk to people about what I think about stuff. Anyway, So I just wanted to say that because I know that I shit on like people that enjoy the lore of stories, but I mean, obviously it can have. I mean, from what I can tell so far, the story of Portal 2 is almost entirely just lore of Aperture Science. I mean, things occur and like the characters make sense and stuff, but you know what I mean. This room is really disorienting because this looks like you're looking down, like. I don't know how to explain. It looks disorienting. I'm sure you can understand what I mean. Especially when you're falling from the top of the ceiling. This is a very sudden stop to those noises. Usually the soundscape in this game is pretty three-dimensional and pretty on point, but sometimes you just get weird cutoffs like that. And this huge... I like these parts, this part of the game, not so much because I really love or am good at any of the, like, puzzles of getting around in here, but I just like these giant, like, abandoned, cavernous rooms with stuff from the past. And I like that it looks very decrepit and lived in, and, you know, that stuff's cool to me. So yeah, not a whole lot to talk about. Once again, I haven't really talked about the game, but I've stopped feeling bad about that, really. And I was talking about the story of the game. Fuck you. I don't even know why I do this. I always, like, preemptively think of things that people could have problems with my commentary in these videos. And I really need to stop because I guarantee no one gives a shit. If more than 5 people are listening to this part of the video, I would be insanely, like, surprised. Which is fine. Okay, let's do this. If you are watching this video and you actually got to this point of the video, you have watched up to this point of the video, comment the word carp so that I will know, and this is how I will scientifically figure out how many people have actually viewed the video up to this point and are true fans. Do you think people would like this game as much if it were just stuff like this? Like if it were just being under Aperture Labs and like doing big rooms like this and not those like contained test rooms that the game is known for? I feel like people would probably be bummed if it were just this. Even though it is cool and a different thing, I think people like the regular test chambers. And yeah, there's really no good way to get down from here. You kind of just have to jump out, which is a little stupid. But whatever. So, yeah, alright. We're heading up in this, little elevator boy. I will let the rest of this little scene play out, and I'll see you guys for part 8. I'm probably going to be putting it up over my Christmas break while I'm at home, God willing. So hopefully I will see you then.
Okay, so it's not the most watertight plan to go confront an omnipotent power-mad AI with. Still, it's a better plan than exploding. Marginally.